Terror beyond your wildest God damn it. Appetite.
Applebee's.
Terror beyond your wildest Applebee's. Also, Get Swallowed December 15th. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
Oh.
Get Swallowed is
explicit.
pretty good.
We watched Triple X movie,
Oh my God.
Inhumanwich. This is episode 150.
Can we talk about Triple X instead?
Yes.
Like the Vin Diesel movie?
This is episode 152 of I Hope You Suffer. I am Ice Cube in the sequel to Triple X.
I'm Vin Diesel, but looking very sad in the third Triple X.
I don't know anything about Triple X except Vin Diesel, so
Katie is
Well,
great.
I'm the car. I assume he's racing. I don't know.
That's the crossover.
You can be the motocross bike that he jumps 15 feet up into the air off of flat ground.
Hell
Okay, I like
yeah.
that. That sounds up my alley.
That sounds like some shit Vin Diesel could do.
Definitely.
This week we are talking about the career of Vin Diesel. And the first movie he was ever in called Inhumanwich. I'm pretty sure he plays the Sloppy Joe monster.
He's the spaceship at the start.
Yeah. He's the Sloppy
I'm
Joe
sorry,
sandwich at the
you
beginning.
mean the capsule?
It's the capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we watched 2016's Inhumanwich. Somehow Kit or Katie called it last week that this would be the best movie we did out of the three. Not really saying much, but
No, it wasn't good in the way I hoped maybe it would be. It was just factually the least terrible of the three.
this movie
It is the most watchable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean I could barely get through it.
Three of the movies that are more like this for me are something called Spaghetti Man,
Oh, I'm in.
Butt
Perfect.
Boy, and
Butt Boy rules.
House Shark.
House Shark is I think a Polonia Brothers movie.
I'm gonna click on it.
That's upsetting.
I went to watch a movie called Virus Shark last night, and it came up with the Polonia Brothers at the beginning, and I was like, hard pass, goodbye.
Aw, man.
No,
I've
these
seen Virus
are-
Shark.
Yeah.
It's either House Shark or
Actually-
Shark Exorcist. It's the Polonia Brothers. I forget which one.
This one is made by
Ron Bank made this
Somebody-
one.
yeah, Bonk.
Oh,
Mine's
Bonk.
just
That's an
Bonk.
even better name. Ron
This
Bonk
does
is like
sound
a perfect name.
A little like familiar because and stars who I assume is the brother Nathan Bonk,
That's just him under a different name.
right? You're gonna need a bigger house. I don't know, the screenshot, there's a pretty cool looking screen. Okay, we're good. Never mind.
Kit and I, like, I think before you joined, had talked about doing Shark Exorcist and House Shark at some point. And one of them was is made by somebody who went on this huge rampage on Facebook about people criticizing their movies, and I forget which one it was. I think it was House Shark. And where I was just like, yeah, let's just avoid this.
Your movie's
Yeah,
called
that sounds
House
right.
Maybe don't take yourself so
it was
seriously.
some other movie they made.
No. It was, oh, what the fuck was it? That's gonna drive me crazy.
Is it another shark movie?
Yeah.
Was it Ouija Shark?
It was like some awful floating 3D shark that was like swimming through the air attacking people.
No, bad CGI sharks is something different.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because I've watched that, and like that movie's fine. It's not great, but like that was like the first movie they had ever made, I believe. It was one of those like. It was a movie I remember that we were like, this movie has a perfect title, we have to watch this, and I think it was House Shark. But I also could be wrong. There's a lot of shark movies.
Yeah. This Inhumanwich has a 10/10 review, and it says, "You
I am
like
Katie.
sloppy
This movie
Joeses?
rules."
You better think with this movie." What's that mean?
I have no idea. You lost me immediately.
You like sloppy Joeses? You better
doesn't,
think
though?
with this movie. Two people found it helpful, so.
Oh, no. Okay, so I think Shark Exorcist is the movie that the guy went on the rampage. Because this wasn't a Polonia Brothers movie. It's, it's one of those movies that has a bunch of people that are constantly in those movies. Because I remember coming across it when I watched he directed Cannibal Cop 2. Which was very bad. And I can't remember exactly why they got mad, but like it's also like you have movies called Cannibal Hookers, Hooker with a Hacksaw, an erotic vampire in Paris. Like, sorry, bro, people are not gonna like these movies.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why we're talking about this. We're supposed to be talking about the perfect movie, Inhumanwich, filmed in the area I grew up in.
Right. This movie was like totally fine. Like, I feel like there was a lot of like jokes in this movie that I feel like were my humor, but I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't in a giggly mood, I guess, because like I didn't really laugh, but like I could at least see what they were going for. And it's not really like a spoof, and I don't want to, this sounds really mean, but it's not really like an intelligent spoof of like old sci-fi movies the way I feel like I forgot the name of it again. Which one is it? Where's Skeeto?
Oh yeah, Where's Skeeto, Nazi
right?
Hunter.
The way Where's Skeeto was, because that was kind of more of like an homage to it, whereas this is more of like a straight up spoof, if that makes sense.
Like the guy who directed Where's Skeeto, all of his movies are made to be like a 50s drive-in movie. So like not that this wasn't like, this is obviously bad and goofy on purpose. And like Where's Skeeto's the same way, but they're very like vastly different movies. Where like Where's Skeeto is very kind of like earnest in what it's doing.
Yeah.
Like this was a straight up like comedy, or trying to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, all I was trying to say is that like it's totally fine. It's just kind of like middle of the road, whatever. I'm really angry though about one thing, and it's that on the cover of the movie we get this like we get this like sloppy Joe creature with like toothed sloppy Joe, and that's not the monster at all in this movie. And the monster we get is just kind of like your stereotypical like blob of meat situation, and so that's the only thing I felt just really let me down in this situation.
I was baffled by the way the creature of this movie looks.
It was incredible. Incredible effect work.
I was like at first disappointed that it wasn't a sandwich, and then I was disappointed that it wasn't like practical, and then I spent the rest of the movie trying to be like, this is blatantly like 6 different blobs like CGI'd over each other so it looks like it's moving, and I was just like, I don't know what's happening.
It looks like the sponge monkeys that Quiznos used to use.
Oh my god.
Yes.
You know, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. I think the other thing I feel like was a missed opportunity is like, obviously their budget was not a lot, but like they did try and do something sort of interesting where like the Inhumanwich like starts as a man, and then it like kind of morphs over time. Yeah, he sloppy joes, but like they just like didn't develop that enough for it to be cool. It was just kind of like confusing.
I feel
to
like,
be honest,
I was I don't know. I gave this half a star, which is probably harsh.
Oh.
I did not like this, but although there were jokes that like I laughed at, but I just felt like this was another one of those movies where it was somehow like, I don't know, 70 minutes long, but just kept beating jokes into the fucking ground. That I was just like, oh my god, like this was funny the first time. The eighth time, it's not funny.
Yeah, and not only that, a lot of it is just like they do this thing where like every single character knows way too much information.
Uh-oh.
What's happening?
Somebody like unplugged something.
Yeah, I'm cat sitting, so I'm not at my house.
Oh.
And the neighbors are mowing and doing all kinds of lawn shit, so I'm trying to find a room where you're not going to hear a leaf blower and a lawnmower the whole fucking episode.
That's alright. They're going to hear my air conditioner the whole time either way, so.
What was I? Oh, the characters have just way too much information about what's going on, and like I understand that that's supposed to be part of the joke, but I found it just very boring.
I just like I had jokes like the first time they do the joke where the guy calls the wife and is explaining stuff and she's repeating it, and then they start doing it where they're like overlapping each other. I was like, this is pretty funny.
That was the first time I was like, maybe this movie won't be so bad.
But then
I was laughing pretty hard.
Right, yeah, like especially when they're like she's just like half a second behind him doing it. I was like, this is pretty fucking funny. But then like they kept doing it like every time they talked to her, and I was like, okay, I get it. I think the only joke throughout the entire movie that kept happening that I laughed every time was the dude's legs.
The legs, yeah. I was gonna say that's the one bit that I really liked. Okay.
Can't eat my legs twice.
Yeah, I did not think this through. Okay,
let's get into this because this is gonna probably be quick because this movie had like no plot.
Let's slop into it.
I'm fired.
Did we say anything about it? Did this person direct anything else like of note? No.
At least not on like a movie on Letterboxd. I think almost everybody in this movie, this is like the only thing they've done. There's like a couple people that have like one other thing. But I have to begrudgingly be like hometown pride, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Weird place for a. Oh god. Also, I have my windows closed even though it's hot in here because people are still setting off fireworks. It's daytime.
Look, this is just gonna be a noisy episode. Everybody can deal with it.
There's gonna be a lot going on in the background.
It is.
Like,
climate change is happening, so it's 1,000,000 degrees. It's like July 5th, so everybody's still drunk setting off fireworks or mowing their lawn. So
it's 2:30. Let it go. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, Dayton, Ohio, very weird place to have a National Space Command Center.
Well, so that number one made me laugh very much. But like, so this was shot in like I think Cincinnati and then Westchester, which is like right in between Cincinnati and Dayton. So like I'm like 45 minutes from Cincinnati and then like maybe 30 minutes from Westchester, so it was very strange when I realized where this was shot.
Yeah. Okay, so this movie basically... Oh, also, first thing I guess to mention is that it is in black and white, which is like almost the only kind of retro aspect to it, to be honest. And it starts off with some voiceover about how space is there and that this movie is going to be the story of an American hero who became an American monster. They say capsule a million times. I hated it. So I just watched this movie and I feel like I don't remember anything that happened.
So the thing that's going to be hard for us to explain throughout the movie is that basically this movie is set in 5 different locations, and each location they just it's just like, 15-minute scene, and then they just move to the next location where it's another 15-minute scene
of mostly talking.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of like jokes and shit that most don't pass.
Oh, okay. So basically, like, he's talking about how this is supposed to take place like when space travel is being developed. So basically, there's an astronaut named Joe Newman who is supposed to go up in a capsule and circle the Earth for 7 hours, and then he's supposed to come back and, space stuff. But then it automatically tells us, but he is going to come back as Inhumanwich. So now...
They should make a sequel where it's just the ghost of Inhumanwich.
Ooh.
I'd watch that.
Maybe that's what Monstered is.
Oh, maybe.
Monstered, Ghost of Inhumanwich. So now we're at the National Space Command Center in, of all places, Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, checks out.
There's...
To be fair, we also did have the aviation whatever museum full of space shit, so...
I was like, that seems like a weird place, but at the same time, like, isn't there it kind of made sense, because I feel like there's a lot of, like, undeveloped land that you could, shoot off rockets and whatnot. Space stuff.
Yeah, but all that land is farms, so...
Yeah, so, like, okay, there's these two dudes. They are kind of like mission control guys named...
Who cares?
I already forgot. Well, I only cared because they split up later. It's Floyd and Murray. They're basically just doing quips about space, and then the president and his wife show up to talk to, like, the head NASA, whatever, space guy, whose name is Ed Farley. And Ed goes into really specific detail. He explains space travel to the president using basketball and a pirate rubber ducky as, like, the props. But he kind of, like, goes into depth about how space travel works, essentially. And they're going to video chat with Joe, who is the astronaut, and he's in space. And I did think this joke was pretty funny. Like, he says hi to the president or whatever, and he was like, "Hi, I voted for the other guy." Just kidding. I don't vote. This is so stupid.
Big liberal energy.
So talk about, there's so much dialogue in this movie, but essentially the reason that this part is important is because so one of the other main characters, whose name is Dr. Chang, which I understand is supposed to be a joke, but it was pretty stupid. He has created basically like an artificial gravity device on the spaceship so that Joe's not just flying around in space or whatever. So he does this dumb thing where he's just like, "Well, I'm no rocket scientist, but," and then he goes into really in-depth explanation about how, like, artificial gravity works.
It's called humor.
He was like, it's stupid. It's not, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not funny.
Yeah, a lot of it
they do
doesn't
this
land.
over and over again, and it's just like I get it. It would have worked if they did it with only him, because, like, obviously he is a rocket scientist, and, like, that's the joke. But every character just know, except for the president. Every character knows everything about anything. So, I mean, that kind of, checks out. But, so then he's basically just, like, explaining the way artificial gravity works, and also is talking about how, like, oh, by the way, it's, like, radioactive material, but it's probably fine. So
NBD.
Yeah, like, it's fine. There's a lot of it, but
don't even worry about it.
No. It's lunchtime, and Joe has a sloppy Joe that his wife Lisa made him. Apparently, she's the best cook ever. And then the president. So
I don't know. She doesn't use onion in her sloppy Joe, so, like, what's the point?
Because he's allergic, though.
Yeah, she's still.
Yeah, it makes him swell up and become lethargic.
I think he's got onions confused with sleeping pills.
I did laugh whenever he was like saying that, and he was like, "Not that there's any reason for you to know that."
Yeah.
Yeah. So in case you didn't know what a sloppy Joe was, the president describes essentially how to make sloppy joes, and then that's where they get to the point with the onions.
I
and Joe
forgot
says,
that, and I literally thought you were going to explain to people what sloppy joes were, and I was like, "What's happening?"
Yep, same. Give us your recipe, Katie.
in case you people at home don't know, I've literally never made a sloppy Joe in my whole life. So
Unbelievable.
This is just for the folks in New Jersey that have the weird sloppy joes.
Yeah, I was about to call Caitlin in here, but then I don't want to get in that argument again.
I can't deal with it. No. I can't deal with that
Sorry,
right
Caitlin.
now. My psyche's too fragile to deal with that.
Just so
To
people
deal
don't
with
know,
that-
sloppy joes and the rest of the country are the loose meat kind of sandwich thing, and then in New Jersey, it's basically a cold cut sandwich that I don't understand and refuse to
Doesn't
acknowledge.
look remotely sloppy.
Yeah,
First of
No.
all,
it basically looks like a fucking BLT.
That's just a Joe, okay?
At least New
Well,
Jersey's
then-
the least patriotic state in the country, so that rules. They got one thing going for it.
Yeah, yeah. I just can't deal with it though.
And the shark attack.
Yeah.
And the Jersey Shore shark attack. So so Joe says, yeah, except there's no onions because I'm allergic to them. Yeah, there's no reason for him to tell us that. Then some meteors show up, and Dr. Chang essentially explains what meteors are to the president, who doesn't know what meteors are. And
I mean, that makes sense. I could buy that.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, fine. Joe has to basically do some elusive maneuvers.
Going through the capsule.
He has to do some invasive maneuvers, but also there is something called a Himmler field, which is an intense mass of deadly omega particles that can be very dangerous at nighttime. And they're like, oh, it's okay though. We scheduled the mission for daytime so that nothing would happen with that. And then Ed is like, oh, but we forgot that, when it's daytime in America, it's nighttime for the rest of the world.
Including space.
Yeah. So not only do we have radioactive material on the spaceship, there's also this joke that they run for far too long that's basically just like, no, everything's totally fine unless a really bad catastrophe happens.
I cannot believe you took this detailed of notes for. I was like, we're gonna talk about this movie for 10 minutes because there's nothing happens, and then all of a sudden there's a sloppy Joe guy that eats people. The end.
Yeah, I mean, so be happening, right? Because there's a Himmler field, there's a radioactive material, and there's meteors. So, Joe says, oh, don't worry about it. He fought in the war, so he can definitely handle meteors and a wall of radiation. Totally
makes sense.
Yeah.
Checks out.
I've seen the war in Velocipaster. I assume there was
Yeah,
radiation going on there.
Turns out he cannot handle meteors and radiation. There's some goo coming out from the radiation core in his capsule. It looks like hand sanitizer, so nothing groundbreaking happening here. It kind of goobs into the cabin. His sloppy Joe that he was eating falls into the goo, and he also, I wrote, sloppy Joe falls on goo, so does Joe, and he gets sloppy.
Gets slopped.
Yep.
He starts screaming. He's got sloppy Joe on his face, and then the transmission cuts off. There is a prolonged pause, moment of silence, and then the president's just like, well, that was fun, and I learned a lot. Let's go and then they all leave to go get some Salisbury steak. The president, his wife. I did like the wife, though, because, she makes some joke about, gender, women's gender roles or whatever, and then when, they go to get Salisbury steak, she's like, I love gravy. And then there's a scene later where they're going to go, see, for some reason, the house that George Clooney, lost his virginity at? And she goes, oh, Batman. So I liked her.
It was very weird.
I mean, I love Gravy and Batman, so.
At the same
I'm
time,
picking up
though?
what she's putting down. Yeah, why not? I like to drink gravy and watch Batman. Do you have a problem with that?
I mean,
I wish Batman was Gravy.
Gravy Man.
Just sentient gravy in a bat suit.
Clayface should just be made out of gravy, and whenever they like.
I mean,
or what if
Essentially.
Batman just covers himself in gravy?
I'm in.
I think, yeah.
He's like the
Right.
greasy strangler.
What
The
if the
gravy
story
strangler.
was the gravy? Yeah. What if the story was that like Batman fell into a vat of gravy instead of like being scared of bats? Like that's his origin story.
So he's
He almost
scared of
drowned.
gravy.
Yeah.
Gravy killed his parents.
He can't. Right. He can't go to Thanksgivings. He can't go to turkey dinners. Like.
They smuggled bad gravy into the movie theater and got poisoning and died in the alley.
I know this gravy's been in my pocket for a week, but I'm sure it's fine.
Just spooning gravy into their mouths.
Not even that. They're just pouring it
Congealed
from like a
pocket
Ziploc bag.
links. Oh, that's better than it
Yeah,
being like loose in his
wasn't.
pocket.
It wasn't
which I
even
was
in the
thinking.
bag. It's just loose.
Yeah, I like it loose
Just
in his pocket.
Dips a
Just
straw
scooping
in
it out.
there.
There's like a button. He chokes on the button. Okay. Well, if anyone wants to develop this new Batman,
DC,
like
get
get
at
at
us.
us. We are ready. What a weird. Okay, let's move on. So they're gonna go get Salisbury steak. Ed calls Joe's wife Lisa and breaks the news to her. Literally, Nathan already described this scene. It's kind of like he calls and is like, hey, there's been an accident. She's like, oh, there's been an accident? My word. Well, I'm sorry. My inflection was, she delivers every line completely deadpan. So she's like, there's been an accident? My word. He's like, yeah, it's Joe. And she's like, it's Joe? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
She's like
it and it just keeps like building to where he's like, and like at some point he like delivers this long fucking like paragraph of dialogue, which then she then repeats, and then
But she's like a
one
couple
word
words.
after.
well
away.
they did a long one too that was like separate, and then like the final one is like he starts talking and she starts repeating him maybe like 3 words behind him for this long ass speech, so you can barely even understand what either of them are saying.
Essentially, yeah.
It's pretty funny,
Um,
but then like everything after it with her, I was like, Jesus Christ, please stop.
Yeah. So essentially, like, he tells her that, but then she was like, well, don't you think that I should be involved in like what happens now? Because like, if he dies, I have to carry out the rest of his term as an astronaut. And I was like, could you imagine if that was true?
That's how it works.
So she's gonna come down to the space headquarters or whatever. Ed and Chang talk about how pineapple gets everywhere, and they do some calculations to try and figure out where Joe's capsule is going to crash. I did laugh at this. Lisa shows up and she was like, I got here as fast as I could. And Ed goes, try harder next time. See, like, if the jokes were more like that, like, peppered in, I feel like it would have been a better experience than, like, constantly. But whatever. They also do this thing where they keep checking on Joe's feed. And every time they turn it on, it's just him screaming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I laughed at that. They're like, check this out.
She's like, I think at some point she's like, well, can I talk to him? And they're like, well, let's see. And they just turn it on. It's just like weird, distorted screaming.
Yeah. Okay, so they figured out that Joe is going to crash in a farm nearby, and Dr. Chang basically just like goes into really specific detail about how bad Joe's circumstances are to the effect of like there's no way he's going to survive, and then it pans over and Lisa's standing right there just like crying over what they said, and like the first and second time that happened was like kind of funny, but then they just kept doing it and I was like no. So we switch over to these two, what I thought they looked like they were 12 years old. These did not look like teenagers to me, but there's these two teenagers,
I forgot
Tom
about this.
and Betty. They're making out at Lover's Lane, and they see the spaceship like kind of fly over them to crash or whatever. And Tom is like, "Oh, that's probably the spacecraft that I heard about on the news," and goes on and on about the spaceship. And they're like making out or whatever. And then she's like, "Okay, well, we should go help." Tom makes a boner joke, and they go to check on the spaceship. Once they get there, he's like trying to open the hatch. It's like not really working or whatever. And eventually Joe busts out of the spacecraft and like gets both of them. And at this point, he's still mostly human, except like he's got crud on him. And also he has a really long arm for some reason.
He looks way cooler this way than he does when like his final form.
Yeah.
The one really long arm really got me.
Yeah. I was like, like when he comes out, I was like, oh, this is interesting. He's not a sandwich, but I don't know what's going on. I'm into this. And then once he just turns into like this blob, I was like, okay, I hate this.
Yeah, like I was already mad when he came out as kind of just like a half sloppy guy. I was like, okay, well, it's not a sandwich, but like, fine, it's a cool monster, but no. The thing that was weird about the arm, though, is that it wasn't like sloppy Joe meat looking. It just looked like kind of more like a crab arm. You know what I mean? It was like really slender.
It's a weird sloppy Joe.
I'm easy that like you could literally just give somebody just one weird long fucked up arm, and I'll go with it. I like that much better than like. I mean,
yeah.
It's always going to be a cool, like an interesting visual.
Yeah. And then so but anyway, this is the coolest he looks because the transformation gets worse and worse. So then we get introduced to this farmer who is reading Encyclopedia Brown, and he hears a bunch of roaring that's like literally like guttural roaring, and he's just like, damn raccoons. And he gets his gun to go like shoot some raccoons. We get a really cool subtitle of eerie burbling. It's Joe. Joe is now like
sloppy,
starting to turn into a sloppy Joe. I wrote Joe is now a blob of sloppy Joe. It looks kind of more like a brain to me at this point, though.
I think the black and white does not help what they were going for with it.
I think it does, because I feel like it would have looked extra dog shit if it wasn't black and white.
I guess. Well, I think it would have been funny if the only thing that was in any sort of color was just his sloppy Joe body.
The
meat.
Yeah. Brown meat.
Just his one long arm before he turned into the meat.
I don't know, whatever. So all the mission control guys like talk about like, oh, this was another Lisa joke. They basically, I didn't know their names at this point, so I wrote mission control guys. It's Murray and Floyd. They're talking about how like if Joe is dead, he's probably in hell because of this weekend that they did a bunch of drugs and cheated on his wife, and then they told his wife that he got in an accident instead of just having too much sex or whatever, and she's standing right there and he cries, and they're just kind of like, ooh. That one I thought was funny. From here on out, not so much.
Yeah, they burned through their goodwill comedy wise pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Ed and Chang discover Betty's skeleton. It's just like a dollar store skeleton wearing clothes. Chang licks residue off of her skull and says, "I'd say this is a case of meat being consumed by meat."
I mean,
all right,
science. I buy it.
Yeah,
science, meat science.
The only real science.
I've got my doctorate
only
in
science
meat
that matters.
Science.
Yeah, I'm a meatologist.
That's what you should go to school for, Katie.
I like meatologist. Meatology. I like that.
Yeah.
It actually sounds a little prestigious, if I'm being honest. So Ed tells Floyd and Dr. Chang to take some of the samples of the residue and go back to the lab. And he says, Murray, come with me and Lisa because the woods are dangerous. But he says this like 4 times. He like says, take Dr. Chang, go back to the thing. And then he talks to whatever. It's just like it keeps going. Ed has... Oh, I did think it was funny. Ed has like the tiniest little gun I have ever seen in my whole life. I don't even know, like, was that gun even an inch long? It was so tiny.
I don't even know if I remember seeing it.
Well, because he has it in his hand and it's like literally the tiniest. Like, do you remember that tiny, tiny gun from Men in Black?
Yeah.
It's like even smaller than that. This is like a gumball machine gun.
For me, I feel like I burned out everything like before the fucking army captain shows up, and then all I remember is the fucking cigar in his mouth.
Yeah,
but he's just like yelling past.
Yeah. He's got a really tiny gun. They find Tom's skeleton, like the boy or whatever. Every single time they find a skeleton, Lisa is like, "Is that Joe?" And I'm like, "What? Why? Look at the clothes. Why would he be wearing those clothes in space?" Anyways, there's no... Oh, okay. I did think it was also funny when they find the other body. He's like, there's no way Joe did this unless he was really fast and had a lot of knives. Like, what? Oh,
that
and
makes
then he
sense.
goes, then he goes, or an electric knife from Thanksgiving. Okay. They are kind of just like looking around. They eventually do find Joe, who at this point is a pile of meat, and like sort of half of his head is still there floating around on like a long meat tendril, and it looks like indescribable. I don't understand. Like, I don't know
All right, Lovecraft.
I mean, I can't figure out how they like made this graphic, but it was mind-boggling, so to speak. They try and run away from it, but Joe gets Murray. Goodbye, Murray's dead. Lisa and Ed steal a truck. Dr. Chang, just like by analyzing the meat samples, immediately understands the situation about what's happening with Joe. Meanwhile, like, Floyd is sitting there casually eating some of like the sloppy Joe samples, which is pretty gross, and is like, oh man, this is pretty good even though there's no onion in it. And then they're like, again, talking about the recipe to make a sloppy Joe, and Lisa says maybe there's a pinch of mustard in it. No.
Yeah, they do. They say like something about it, like her recipe. She puts like a tiny bit of mustard in it.
But she says a pinch of mustard.
Yeah, that's how you use mustard. You pinch it.
No.
Yeah.
Thought you knew how to cook.
No.
You've obviously
Could
got
you
to dry
imagine
out your
like
mustard.
squirting mustard into your like finger and just being like...
Yeah, then you just dip it into
because
like...
I buy powdered mustard.
Yeah.
Like, I get there's powdered mustard, but I know that's not what they were talking about. Dr. Chang says...
How dare you just not think that Inhumanwich got their facts right?
Well, I mean, all their science is probably incredibly spot on.
Yeah,
so
I assume they actually shot
them.
this at the Dayton Space Command Center.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Dr. Chang essentially says that Joe the Inhumanwich is every time he eats something or somebody, he is getting bigger, and he's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and growing and growing. I didn't write it down, but I think this is the part where they were talking about how he is making his way towards Cincinnati, which is like the chili capital of the world. So if he makes it there, he's going to eat all the chili and basically ruin everything.
That's true, but also it might be. Because I know, like, the big thing about, like, Cincinnati is, like, Skyline and, fuck, what's the other one called? The
We used to call it Cincinnati chili.
yeah,
but
it is like this. It has its own like chili style, and like the big thing is like Skyline chilies. You get it on like hot dogs and like
yeah,
like the spaghetti ones or whatever. But I can't think of what the other place is called. It's Gold Star, I think, something like that.
it does say. Okay, outside of the state of Texas, Cincinnati, Ohio is the most chili-crazed city in the United States. Cincinnati prides itself on being the true chili capital, with more than 180 chili parlor. Never heard that term before.
Look, all I'm gonna say is I know people. Well, granted, it's the same shit, I guess, as the Sloppy Joe here, but
Right.
Skyline
Well, the
chili
spices are different.
is very good, and people should try it.
What's the difference between Skyline and like what they call Cincinnati chili?
That's basically what it is. Skyline chili is just a restaurant.
Okay, I agree with that then. I love Cincinnati chili. Okay. Are
we getting to the best joke of the movie yet? Of a large group of people?
we're getting there, yeah. Well, this is when we're introduced to General Graham. Ed calls him, essentially. Also, General Graham has a picture of Tom Selleck as Magnum PI framed behind him on the wall, which I thought was interesting.
Do you not?
No.
Oh, I thought everybody had that in their house.
I've got like 4.
Can't say that it does. I've got 4. It's my...
One for each room.
The bathroom is Tom Selleck Magnum PI themed, actually.
It's all mustache, actually.
Ew. Mustache, shower curtain, and rugs. Okay.
Toilet seats all mustache.
Yeah, it's all mustache.
It's just like a Fu Manchu mustache, just the whole, like, the seat.
It drips over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Officer. Oh, then there's also just like a random other army guy with the general, which basically explains like the space program, and he also talks about how like apparently the radiation mutates any astronaut that goes through it because it's turned John Glenn into a merman, and then he talks about like other astronauts having mutations too, which
that's true.
Pretty great conspiracy theory, if you ask me. Then Sloppy Joe eats a family, and unfortunately, the dog. They make a big joke about how Lisa is sad about the dog, but not the family. And I was like, same though. It was a pretty cute dog. So everybody goes to the house, like all the science people, the army, go to this house to like check it out. And then they talk to this neighbor, this like sleazy neighbor for like 10 minutes. And essentially
this is too long.
Yeah, it is. And the only info you need to know is that like Sloppy Joe is still in the house. So they go to open the garage door, but Joe like squishes out some of his meat tendrils and like grabs 2 of the military guys. He also grabs Floyd and starts pulling him into the garage, but the other guys grab him and pull him out to reveal skeleton legs.
Yeah, just clean to the bone.
Skeleton legs. And to be honest, I was very here for this joke. It stays funny, but again, it's because for the most part, it's like pretty subtle.
Well, yeah, it's just like it's a joke that they don't endlessly draw attention to. It's just every time you see him, he's now just has skeleton legs, and it's just like on crutches.
Yeah, and like nobody else seems to pay attention to the fact that like he can't walk because it's anyways, so it's funny. They shoot the garage up a bunch, and then Joe ends up escaping out the back. Ed, Dr. Chang, and the military guys decide to go follow the trail that he's left through the woods. And I wrote, there's a terrible picnic happening. Every actor in this picnic scene is the worst.
This is the large group of people, right?
Yeah.
This was my favorite joke because like the guy sets up was like, well, hopefully he just doesn't come across like a large group of people on his way or whatever, and it just like cuts to like the scene of like 4 people in a park, and it's just like a large group of people, Cincinnati, Ohio, and I was laughing so hard. It's so stupid.
Yeah. It is pretty dumb. So essentially, it's just like these people having a picnic. There's a song that happens for some reason.
Why not?
And I just like, I don't like it. And then like there's basically just somebody who is like getting food from like the snack table or whatever, and like an actual human hand comes out of like a tray of meat and grabs him and sucks him in, and I was like, how? Why is there a real hand? I was really confused by it.
There's no logic to the Inhumanwich. Like you said, indescribable.
It slops without reason.
This is, I'm pretty sure, the color out of space that Lovecraft was talking about.
Probably. So
this would have been so awesome if this movie was just called The Color Out of Space. They should just put that as the title, and then just like it's just the rest of the movie is the way it is.
Well, so yeah, so you know, Joe's there. He starts eating people. The guy who sings the song tries to electrocute Joe by like literally just throwing an extension cord on him, and then it's just like, I wonder why that didn't work. And then one of the officers that's with General Graham just like accidentally shoots the singer and kills him. I did not care for these jokes, but whatever.
He's like, how's your, like, you good with the aim? And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And then he just like starts firing and hits everybody but Joe.
Yeah. At this point, we see Joe, and he has now turned into just like a big blob with one eyeball.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
It's a tiny eyeball too. It's not proportionate to the blob. It's like a human-sized eyeball on this gigantic mass of meat.
Yeah. Then the guy who doesn't have good aim also throws a grenade over at Joe, but like throws it into the group of people instead and like blows them up. And then the general says that he's got a plan he learned during Operation Carrot Top. And I was like, Nathan's gonna love that.
I need more information on what Operation Carrot Top was.
Because the plan that he learned from that is that he is going to give a soldier a grenade, and then the soldier is going to go get eaten while holding the grenade.
So, I mean, do you think this was like they were trying to kill Carrot Top?
I don't know.
They thought Carrot Top was going to eat someone with a grenade?
That's what I'm saying.
I remember what Carrot Top looked like a decade ago. I would believe he might eat somebody for those gains.
We know what you did, Carrot Top.
Truly.
You piece of shit.
Confess your sins.
Yeah, I would watch that movie, to be honest with you. This doesn't work. This plan does not work, as I assume it did not with Carrot Top, because he's still wandering around.
I don't know.
That's what you think.
Have you seen Carrot Top since 2016?
Yeah.
Oh.
I saw
a mere husk of himself. A carrot
You know
husk.
that big chunk that was blown up out of him from a grenade?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, but they needed to have tried harder, I think.
Oh, God. I googled Carrot Top 2021.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not great.
No.
I actually
very leathery. Leathery is the word I would use.
That's what happens when you have to live in Las Vegas for like 2 decades.
Listen, I get it. It is hot. It is hot. Yeah, okay, so Lisa shows up. She tries to give Joe this like sentimental talk, but it ends up being about how they took a vacation and Tom Hanks offered him money to sleep with her.
I forgot about this. This is pretty fucking funny.
I was like, remember Tom Hanks offered you $100 to sleep with me, but you said no one sleeps with my wife for less than $150 or something. I was like, what in the world? Leave Tom Hanks alone.
I don't know. I believe Tom Hanks did this. This seems like a real story.
And then Joe eats her, so she's gone. Goodbye.
Finally.
Yeah.
Pour one out.
Meanwhile, like, everyone's watching this, and we just get, like, the scene with, like, Floyd sitting on the Jeep with, like, his skeleton legs, and it made me very happy.
Yeah, when they go to leave, and he just, like, just has to, like, sit on the car because he can't get off.
Yeah.
They also gave him crutches, as if, like, he could just use crutches without legs at all. And he's,
I think
like,
that's how it works.
He can't even, like, get off the top of the Jeep, and he's like, what the fuck? This is when they remember that Joe is allergic to onions, so they send an officer over to, like, get the onions from the picnic, which, in my mind, I was thinking was, like, chopped onions for, like, you know, to eat on things, but it's literally just a bowl of whole onions.
Yeah, it's a picnic.
Yeah. You eat them like an apple.
You know, I knew... No.
It's a nice 105-degree day outside. You're chilling in the sun, just munching on a onion.
God, sounds so good right now.
Yeah, a nice, refreshing onion. I might blend up one, have some juice.
That's the new mix-in for the meat shake.
Is
onion juice.
The craze sweeping the nation.
Just
you know, you pour a little
triple shot of onion, raw onion in there.
Oh.
Pour a little Nesquik powder in there. Golden chocolate onion.
Yum. That's my favorite kind of milkshake right there.
Oh my gosh.
Just chocolate onion milkshake.
If you subscribe to our Patreon, Katie will try it on camera.
Oh. Well.
Just a video of Katie throwing up violently for 20 minutes.
I would, you know, I do have a price. I would do that. We'll see.
I would too. For a certain amount of money. Why not?
think I would rather, like, try a onion chocolate shake than I would a blended up sandwich from Arby's. Like, you know.
I'll say that's already gonna have onion and doesn't even have chocolate in it. So, like, at least you get the chocolate part.
And it has cheese sauce, which I feel like just somehow.
I feel like the cheese is gonna make it go down smooth.
Yeah.
That's the key. Is the cheese. Maybe toss a little cheese in your chocolate onion shake.
I think it's the meat that really gets me though. Like blended
meats, not your jam.
I'm just gonna say somehow this is all still better than salsa. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
What would you rather have, salsa or a chocolate onion milkshake?
Okay, it depends. Like, so you looked up recipes that were like salsa that you eat with chips, and coleslaw, like not slaw, but coleslaw. And that to me sounds pretty gross, but like the flavor combo doesn't sound as bad as like chocolate and onion.
So what you're
or
no,
a meat
so
shake.
what it is it's literally I have a bowl of coleslaw and I have a bowl of like peach habanero salsa and I just put them together and combine them.
That doesn't seem too bad to me because there's already like coleslaw on like fish tacos or something, and then you can have salsa on it. Like that doesn't. The idea of like that doesn't really actually bother me that much.
What about your chocolate onion shake? Instead of whipped cream on top, you have the salsa on top with a nice little cherry.
All right, it's getting kind of bad.
It's not even that.
Like kind of bad.
Instead of the whipped cream, it's just a scoop of mayo.
Ew. Okay, you got me. Like, okay,
Mayo.
yeah, no. I don't think so. I don't really like mayonnaise, so.
I only like mayo
the
as
idea
like
of
the
just, like, a blob of
condiment on something, but yeah.
I can barely stand mayonnaise on things. If somebody like tried to give me money to like take a scoop of mayonnaise and eat it, it would be very hard for me.
Yeah, same.
It's fine.
I'll
take the mayo bullet.
Oh,
okay.
Again, there's a price. I would do it, but
I'm saying if somebody paid me, I would do it, but I would have a hard time. If they were like, you can't spit it out and you can't throw up, like, I would have a hard time.
Actually, I don't know. Now that I'm vegan, I think I could do it, because I could do it with a vegan mayo. I could do it, but like regular mayo,
No.
where I just know it's like
You had
eggs,
to
I'd be
do-
like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, you'd have to do it with regular.
Yeah, you couldn't. Then you definitely couldn't pay me enough money for that.
Yeah, $2,000.
No, thank you.
What?
I would get.
Yeah,
I'd
do it.
The thing is, though, I would get so sick afterwards that it's not worth it, because I've been vegan for so long that that would like.
$1 million, Nathan? $1 million?
No.
Well, that price jumped up from 2,000 to $1 million.
And he's still saying no. Okay. Anyway, what even happened here?
Somebody ate Joe.
There was a bowl of onions.
I forgot that's how this started.
Yeah, okay, so like the guy goes to try and retrieve the onions, but he stops to answer like a phone call from his girlfriend or something, and he ends up getting eaten, but he does grab a few handfuls of onions as he's getting eaten. So Sloppy Joe gets a little lethargic, and it allows Dr. Chang to get some sample of Joe's like living tissue, and they go back to the
Anytime
lab.
they like interact with Joe, it's so bad, and it made me laugh though, because it's just like he just like scoops a part of him, but he's also like just blatantly not scooping anything, so it looks so ridiculous.
And then they add just like a sound effect. So
I will say later on, when the dude is like eating pieces of Joe, it is very gross.
Oh my god. That was almost too much for me.
Okay.
I was like, oh, come on.
Okay,
it was like all in his beard and shit.
Yeah. Here's the question, Katie.
Okay.
How much money to get you to eat Joe?
Okay, I was thinking about this, like, what? Not
You were
not
thinking about this?
No, not specifically the idea of somebody paying me to eat him, but like the idea that spoiler alert, the thing that they decide is like the only way to get rid of him is to eat him. And I was like, okay, but like, not only is he a man that was mutated into a blob of meat, he's also been eating other people. So it's like,
yeah,
it's like human.
That's
also.
a double cannibalism.
It's like a shrimp, though.
And
you gotta get that poop sack out before you eat him.
No, that's the best part, though. You gotta eat the poop chute.
He eats them all except for their bones. So like, I don't know.
$2,000.
The marrow is supposed to be the best part.
No. Okay, well, it's hard.
25.
Yeah, he's not cracking into that marrow. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Ew. But also, it's like, okay, the idea of like saving the world is good too, I guess, sort of. But like, at what cost? I don't know. I wouldn't do it for free. That's for sure. Sorry, everybody. But then
Like, yeah, you're all fucked. Just too bad.
Like, Kate, yeah, right. We tried to give Katie $2,000 to eat. How many pounds of meat is he at this point? He's like as tall as a building almost, isn't he?
A good question that I need answered.
Yeah. Okay, so the president is now meeting with the mayor of Cincinnati, and this is when they basically like find out like what's happening with the Joe situation, and this is when the guy is going to take the president's wife to go see the Batman house. The president like also basically whenever the assistant comes in as like mayor, there's somebody online too that's talking about I don't know, basically this really bad scary creature that's gonna eat everything. He's just like, all right, well, I'll see you later, and he leaves. Ed and the general, the general is basically just this guy that keeps yelling, but he like yell talks everything he says, but also has a cigar in his mouth.
He's got a cigar jammed
obnoxious.
in like the cheek of his mouth, but he's got his teeth clenched out like so it stays in place the entire time he talks. And it's like this
annoying.
Weird.
But he's also yelling somehow.
Yeah, it's this weird yell, but it also like sounds like wet because he's just obviously his mouth is like filling with saliva.
Yeah.
I stand.
There's a lot of
sensory
issues in this. Okay, so they basically decide that they're going to set up a barricade like outside the chili factory because the president's there, they have doubled the chili manufacturing, so it's even worse because Joe's on his way. So Ed and the general go to the barricade, and the mayor shows up and is like mad because like he doesn't want people. He's like he thinks that they're overreacting to the, giant sloppy Joe monster problem, and he doesn't want people to be mad and like not vote for him about the factory being shut down or something. I don't know. Then an officer accidentally blows up his car with a rocket launcher, so he's dead. Okay. Dr. Chang and Floyd basically are doing more tests and find out that the onions will slow Joe down, but at the same time he's also building up an immunity to the onions because he keeps getting introduced to it. So essentially it just means that the onions are not going to kill him. And Floyd makes multiple puns about having legs, essentially. Like, I would just wish someone would, I don't know, I can't think of any leg puns that he said. I just wish someone would set us out on the right foot or something. He just tells a bunch of leg jokes. At the barricade, they have noticed that Joe has started coming down the street towards him. They shoot at him a bunch of times. The general decides that he's going to like nuke Joe because they don't know what else to do. Then Floyd Floyd is like eating a cup of chili, but then accidentally picks up the samples from Joe and eats those, and then he ends up being okay because of his stomach acid. And so this is how they developed the plan that they're going to slow Joe down by feeding him onion, and then they're going to eat Joe, essentially. And instead of just like getting a bunch of people together to eat Joe, they decide that they are just going to try one competitive eater.
Yeah.
Great plan. He's only a 4-ton meat monster.
Yeah. And so then there's like this whole thing about like the competitive eaters database not being up to par, I guess. And so Ed is just like, I'll go ask some bystanders. Surely there will be a competitive eater. And so he goes to ask them. There's one guy that steps forward named Bert, and he starts to tell a story about how he used to be the world champion, I guess. But then like he doesn't finish the story. He's just like, I'll never forget what happened that day. And then like, that's it.
Honestly, the most unrealistic part of this entire movie is that the world champion competitive eater didn't weigh like 115 pounds.
Yeah.
Because every time you see one of those like people that like is like, he ate 80 hot dogs, they're like the smallest person alive.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll say it surely couldn't have cost a lot to get Joey Chestnut in there, right?
I don't know.
Let's see. I wonder if Joey Chestnut's on Cameo.
Please eat 40 hot dogs for my friend.
Right. Ew. So,
God, 76 hot dogs. That's...
In how long?
Let's see.
What was the time?
I'm trying to open it now. Let's see.
Like
10 minutes. 76
Jesus
hot dogs
Christ.
and buns in 10 minutes.
no, thank you.
Why?
Sounds, not great. Oh, he's on Cameo. I'm just gonna get him to record him saying, I hope you suffer, but why? But with hot dogs in his mouth.
But eating
$75. He better up his $75 to $76 now.
Yeah. Say that's a good deal. That's less than $1 per dog.
That's right. How long are cameos normally?
You could pay for like, it just kind of depends on what you're paying for. Some people will do quick ones. Some people like Paul from 90 Day Fiance. Like I saw one that somebody paid for that was just him like giving him a tour of his house for like 10 minutes with like some people just record you know,
Hey,
however long
happy
they want.
birthday.
Yeah. Oh shit.
See ya.
Kit, $119. Let's get DDP to talk to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, like, can you just tell us a story about David Arquette? And also, can you give us his contact information?
He's like, yeah, sure, here you go. Okay, so Bert is...
Oh, Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray. We could hire him.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Is Carrot Top on there?
I don't know.
Oh,
Carrot Top's pretty fucking rich. I don't think so. Oh, wait, maybe he is. Let's see. Oh, no. Doesn't look like it. Oh, wait, yep, there he is. $150. Wow, he looks rough.
What the fuck?
Holy shit.
For Carrot Top?
Pull our money together and we'll ask him to explain Operation Carrot Top to us.
I know a lot of people joined this kind of stuff like that, like wouldn't have pre-pandemic, but then when, like, you know, they weren't able to actually go to conventions and shit like that, they started doing that.
That makes sense.
All right, anyway, let's finish this fucking movie.
Okay, so Bert says, like, okay, yeah, he'll do it, but he wants to know, like, what kind of sloppy Joe it is, and that they're like, I don't know, what are you talking about? And this is when he's, like, talking about there's 180 whatever. He also says that, he also talks about how he has sharted in his pants, so here we go, 3 movies in a row about farting and or poop. No Martha, though, so that's a letdown.
Kit, $25, we get Nick Gage.
Oh, shit.
$31, we could get the Sandman to say racist shit at us. Oh, man, if I'd have known this, we could have got fucking Kevin Nash last week for $115.
Oh, my God.
What a deal.
Vince Russo, $50. Fucking...
This is devastating. Vince Russo is twice as much as Nick Gage.
What was... Gangrel? Was that his name?
Yeah.
He's on
Gangrel.
$25.
Wow.
Oh, Gangrel should definitely be more than Vince Russo.
Yeah.
As much as I want to hear Vince Russo talk about he's going to strap someone's mom to a pole for a match.
Oh. I like how some of these people definitely just, like, put something really expensive and hope that people don't actually pay for, like, a thing from them.
Kit, $20, we get Gilberg.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I gotta stop looking at this because I don't have the money for any of this right now. All right, did this guy eat Joe yet or not?
Oh, I'm trying, but you won't stop talking about cameo wrestlers.
Yeah,
I assume.
We gotta get Gilberg on the podcast.
I'm not gonna lie. I did look, like, earlier this year to see if Orange Cassidy was on there, but he wasn't.
It'd be so sick to pay him money and have him not actually say anything to you for fucking
just like
stand
stare.
there and give a thumbs up.
Yeah,
$75.
You know, worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so Bert says okay, but then they find out that Bert is what?
He's on there.
He's on there now?
Yeah.
What the heck? I checked around, like, your birthday and he wasn't.
Damn it, Orange.
That's rude as hell. What a thing for him to do, right? He's like,
it's very in character.
Yeah.
We'll see what his cameo is like.
Okay.
Seth, sup? Heard you're turning 34 on July 1st. Nice. So when it gets to July 1st, happy birthday. Your wife, who's probably the best wife ever, wants me to ask you a question. She wants to throw you a birthday party. So, I guess, can she throw you a birthday party? I'll let you.
What a king.
That's amazingly low effort. I love it.
He's just like, he looks so bored, dude. It's so funny.
He was like, heard you had a birthday. Well, it's your birthday. I love that. See, I tried, but he whatever.
Well, he looks like one of those ones like, there's some people that are on here that get like a bunch where they'll just like be like, I got like 10 spots, and then like, you know, they'll just open them like when they're free or whatever.
Yeah,
Because his currently is like, he's like not available.
Right. They'd like turn their account off or whatever. Okay, so it turns out that Bert is also allergic to onions, and he also has a flashback of his brother whose dying wish was for Bert, if he ever got the chance to save a mid-Atlantic city or a city like Cincinnati, that he should do it.
I laughed out loud at that.
That's a good joke.
And so he decides that he's going to do it. They are in this building, and they throw a bunch of the onions out the window, but instead of absorbing into Joe, they just kind of sit there. And Dr. Chang is like, okay, well, he must have learned how to like not absorb stuff that he doesn't want to eat. And so King Floyd says he's essentially like going to use his skeleton legs to like push the onions down into Joe, because, you know, he can't eat his legs twice, but he just like jumps out the window, and his entirety, he gets eaten.
He just like slowly sinks into him.
Yeah, he does grab the onions as he goes down, so pour one out for a real one. Skeleton legs Floyd. So then Bert goes out there and eats Joe. It is very gross.
Yeah, he's just basically like they'll like cut like to his face, and he's just slopping like meat into his beard and shit, and it's the worst.
It's bad. But we also forgot to mention, like, maybe they did say how much meat Joe was, because they did calculations and said that like he would be like they had 18 minutes to eat him. I don't know, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
Anyways, he does it. Ed goes to Dr. Chang, and essentially it's just like, oh, Dr. Chang, did we save the world? And Dr. Chang is essentially just like, he gives this long speech, which essentially is just like, yeah, we did right now, but we keep fucking shit up, so who knows next time? Which, fair. And then Bert asks if they want to all go get a pizza, and so they leave to get a pizza. And that's the end. There is a Inhumanwich theme song that plays.
Goddamn right there is. 3 in a row.
So, that's it.
There was a post-credit scene too of like they showed them filming where you hear the voiceover of him listening to his brother about like saving a city.
Oh.
Which it wasn't like anything important, but it was kind of funny.
I didn't get to see that because Tubi just like started playing some other movie before I was through the credits, and I was like, what?
Yeah, you have to like click out of that, or like you miss all the good stuff in the credits, like names.
Yeah. But anyways.
Yep.
Not great. Not best movie we watched this month for this, but not great.
Low bar.
140 something episodes after I discovered Inhumanwich existed, we finally covered it.
Here we are. Wow, iconic. I mean, like,
worth
there
wait.
is definitely an audience for this movie. Like, I do think there are people out there that these jokes would have landed for, but like,
this is another one of those movies that I feel would be like better in a group setting than.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. Like, kind of like the Post-Commando Sharks, or whatever that was called. Which also just did not, like, hit for me, but...
Alright. News?
I don't know. Most of the news, I think, right now is, like, pretty useless. I did see more information on Cocaine Bear. They have
they cast the bear?
I don't know if they cast the bear, but yes, it is Ray Liotta.
I'm in.
Ray Liotta was cast for it, as well as Kerry Russell and Jesse Tyler Ferguson. And then I also saw that the producer is the producer from Underwater. So I don't know. Getting pretty stacked.
I don't know. The day, like literally an hour before we started recording this, Richard Donner died. So that's probably like a big news story.
This episode doesn't come
R.I.P.
out for like ever, but
yeah, you could hear
RIP.
about it in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do a Omen Scrooge to double feature. Or radio
sure.
flyers,
Yes.
so you can see tiny baby Elijah Wood.
Get your Goonies on. Do the truffle shuffle.
Yeah, watch.
Yes.
I know we did Superman 1 and 2. I don't know if we did 3 or not.
Hey, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, that's a bummer. He was also like a producer on just like a shit ton of movies.
Yeah.
All right. Kit, did you watch Fear Street?
No.
All right.
No, I did
Good,
not.
I'm gonna spoil it for you.
That's fine.
Katie,
I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were gonna watch it, so.
So Katie and I are gonna discuss Fear Street real quick. So if you haven't watched it in the 2 weeks since we're recording this and this comes out, spoilers, I guess.
Beep, beep, beep.
I did not like it. I rewatched it and it got like worse for me. I think knowing what happens, I just enjoyed it less. But like, I don't know. I'm very baffled by the reaction to people saying it's the best slasher movie they've ever seen when it's literally just like a bad rehash of like Scream with ghosts. And I think the actors are relatively bad in it.
I did like it. Do I think it's the best movie I've seen this year or whatever? Definitely not. I think the thing, yeah. So I think this. I'm trying to like articulate what I thought about it. I did like it. I did like some of the characters. I thought the main character was not very likable at all.
Yeah, I understand the importance of them having like the queer representation, but they could have at least made Dina and Sam not the most like unlikable characters I've seen in a slasher movie in a long time.
Well, my issue with it too is that like they made, and like I get, so the thing that I think that is good about this movie, or not necessarily good but is beneficial for it, is that like it is an R-rated movie for like gore and things like that, but it is very much still a movie for teenagers. And I think because the characters are all high school aged, right?
Well,
and
supposed to be.
Right, like
because they're
right.
all like in their 20s.
Yeah, the overall movie does have, to me, still a very like Fear Street, Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark kind of thing to it. But and so like if I was a teenager, I think that I would really have enjoyed this. I think I would have probably liked the main character, because the thing that I, as an adult, have a hard time with movies like this is when the main character is all about like their significant other. Like they do dumb stuff, they make dumb choices because they're so in love with this other person, and it's like blinding. And to me as an adult, I'm just like, okay, I mean, not like I don't love my husband obviously, right? But I'm just like, okay, come on. Like, but as a teenager, I think that I would have thought it was very romantic, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's important for not adults, but I mean, and like their target audience obviously is like people who feel nostalgic for the 90s, which I also don't really feel like they did super well.
Yeah,
but like I
think the funniest reaction I saw to it was Connor Sweeney tweeting that the movie felt like what 20-year-olds think the 90s was probably like.
I mean, I agree with that too, because it's like, okay, I feel for some reason I feel like a lot of media has like there's so many good things to capture the feel of like the 80s, but there's not a lot for the 90s, and it's really hard to do it right, because like the only thing that this movie really did was like AIM, which of course,
yeah, I think the most realistic thing in it was like when they introduced Josh and his entire life is like being on like AOL and like a IM or whatever, and like just blasting White Zombie while he's doing it. And I was like, yeah, that's a mood. That was me in '94, so
yeah,
that works.
And he's like sort of RPing with someone he doesn't know, talking about like spooky shit. Like I get it. I really liked Josh. He's probably the
he's
most
the best
likable
part of the
character. But like other than that, the only thing that they did was just jam like Nine Inch Nails and a bunch of other bands in the very beginning of the movie. And the music mixing I felt was done really bad.
Yeah, it's baffling
But,
to
like,
me how many people are just like, the soundtrack to this is incredible, and I'm like, the songs are fine, but like Kit at one point, I'm not kidding, like it hard cuts where like they're playing Insane in the Membrane to where a main character puts on their headphones and just cuts hard into Radiohead's Creep.
What?
It's
But this
so
scene-
baffling.
yeah, so this scene is like a scene where the main characters like go to school and then they're all seeing each other in the halls, and every single time it's like a character seeing another character, it like hard cuts and they go through like 6 songs. It's very weird.
It's big Zack
Anyways.
Snyder energy for fucking needle drops.
Yeah. But the things that I will say is like, yeah, I do think it's really important for like teenagers to have more stuff like this, because like there's some really, really nice score in this movie. Like I liked the whole opening scene, even though like that's not what working at a mall is like, but whatever.
Yeah, you know when the mall closes and everything turns into neon lights?
And everyone's gone except for you and the guy that works at Spencer's. I don't think so, but it's fine.
That actually seems realistic to me.
Like the fashion was pretty on par, I thought.
I think.
And
well, I guess like kind of along like what you were saying. Like I think it's gonna be interesting. Like I think it's good. Like it's good that something like this exists, because I feel like a lot of movies don't cater to like kind of teenage audiences as much now, and I think it's good for like teenagers and shit. Like if you want to continue having a base for horror movies, like they have to be introduced to this stuff somewhere. And like but like I don't know, like it's very strange, because like you said, like the main audience for this is people that read the Fear Street books. I think like everyone I know that watched this is like, you know, at least late 20s into like their 30s going on to 40s. So like
right.
It was very strange to me that there's like a fucking... I had to look up the ages of the actors in this, because there's like a sex scene in it with kids that are people that are supposed to be playing like 16, 17-year-olds. And you see them in like their underwear a bunch, and it's fucking weird. So and no one is discussing that.
That's one of the things that I was gonna... That's why I started by prefacing it saying that like I think this is a good movie for teenagers. Because my things that I question about it as a movie for adults is the sex scenes. I don't personally want to see sex scenes with teenagers or people who are being portrayed.
Yeah, like you know, portraying
are
like
supposed
underage.
To be teenagers. Like I do, like you said, like it is good that we don't just have like I mean, and you know, like for the most part, the characters aren't just like straight white kids, right? And I enjoy that. I enjoy the representation. But like, yeah, questionable to me is if I don't know the people who made this movie, I don't know who their actual target audience was, because if it's adults, that is weird to me because it's like a few times, like I don't know, that situation. I was gonna say the other thing that I kind of question about it is the way that they handled like drugs, and for trigger warning, like overdosing was kind of weird to me. But like if I go back to try and think about like, I don't know, if this is actually made for teenagers, then like I don't know, them being sort of nonchalant about it I guess makes sense. But I don't know, that whole sequence and that whole plot point was like so strange to me. But I don't know, there were some things in it that like really surprised me. I, again, major spoilers, assumed that all of these kids were going to make it, and they don't. And the gore surrounding like their deaths, I thought was like very surprising.
Yeah, I think like you said, like the beginning is good, but like it's also like it's basically the beginning to Scream. For the most part,
and it
but it
like,
works as like setting up. the movie. And then
Yeah.
this scene in the grocery store I thought was very well done, especially as you get to see somebody get their head through a bread slicer.
Holy shit. I literally gasped out loud, and Chris was like, what's wrong? Because I was not expecting them to, number one,
Kill
she's
them.
like the first person of like the group of the main characters that dies. I wasn't expecting her to die, and I wasn't expecting them to show it, and I was like, wow. So I don't know. I think overall, I don't know how it would stand up to a rewatching. Overall, like, I liked it just fine. I think I rated it probably higher than most people, just because it did.
No, I'm
like
seeing
I
a lot
said,
of 5-star reviews, and it is
oh
mind-boggling
no,
to me.
I for sure don't think it was. I don't think that there was anything in it overly unique. Like, it's not a unique story. Like, I think the parts that I like about it were because it did sort of feel, yeah, it kind of like Screamish, but for teenagers, had that sort of thing going for it. But like the story, I'm not really sure. I am excited. I wonder if part of it for me is just kind of the novelty of it being a 3-part movie series. I'm really looking forward to seeing like how it wraps up, and how, because I thought it was going to be like this movie, then the movie before it, completely unrelated, but I don't think that's how it's actually going to be.
I think
if you watch the trailer,
it is,
so.
but it isn't. So like what my understanding is, so like obviously the next one goes back in time, and it's going to be the story of the lady at the end, Gillian Jacobs' character, like, you know,
Yeah.
what happened to her, and it's obviously gonna be Friday the 13th. It's gonna be a camp horror
right,
story.
but it's more like her telling the kids who
Yeah.
are left
And so
what happened.
I think that
But I thought it wasn't going to be connected at all.
because my understanding is it's going to be connected, but like all it's really going to do is it's going to be telling the story and probably jumping back to them listening to the story and trying to figure out whatever the ghost. And then it goes
Right.
back into like the 1666, which I'm fucking way in to see what those needle drops are going to be like in that movie.
Yeah.
But like I don't know.
So-
I'm like hesitantly interested to see the rest of it, but I feel like it's going to be like very American Horror Story-ish, and I'm not really stoked for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
Anyway,
We'll see.
Kit, what did you watch?
I watched Free Fire,
What the fuck is
which
that?
was a good choice. It's a Ben Wheatley movie where it's just it's like a weapons deal in a warehouse, but it goes wrong. So like a whole hour of the hour and a half movie is just people shooting at each other and swearing at each other in the warehouse, and it fucking rules.
Damn, it's got a nice cast in it.
I'll say it's got like Brie Larson and Charlton Copley and
Cillian Murphy.
the cannibal fetish guy.
Oh yeah, Armie Hammer.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, it was really good. I was surprised.
Add this to my watch list. All right, let's do shout outs. Katie.
Oh, well, I did just want to update everybody. I finally got to watch Near Dark.
Oh yeah.
It was good. Like, I liked it. I think I kind of built it up in my mind a little bit. Like, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, but still very much slaps.
It's a movie that's got like sort of a boring beginning, but like the bar scene is incredible. And then like the shootout at the hotel is pretty fucking great.
Yeah, I think that my problem is that, like, I kind of already had said this to, like, a few people, that I thought that Bill Paxton was going to be, like, the main character of the movie, and he's not, and I didn't really care for the main guy that much, like, his character, so that was kind of something that I, like, kind of let myself down in that aspect, but, like, him and Lance Henriksen really made that movie, and definitely it's worth watching. So if you have Shudder, it's on there for free now. But I finally got to see it, and I guess my other shout out is gonna just be another movie that I watched, because I have not really been doing much. They added Manhunter from 1986 to, I don't know if it's streaming other places, but it's on Shudder, and I feel like I didn't see anybody talk about how it was added, because that movie is amazing. It's
Yeah,
part of
it
like the
slaps.
Hannibal
Yeah, it's so
franchise.
good.
It slaps, it rips, whatever other things Kit said, it's amazing. And I feel like I did see a few people be like, I never watched this movie before because, it
It's
didn't
not
get
Anthony
great.
Hopkins.
Which is
Yeah,
totally
it's
fine.
Brian Cox, and Brian Cox is better.
Yeah, I agree.
It's amazing. And like, so this movie came out in 86 or whatever. I read the book version, which is Red Dragon, like when I was in high school. Or no, I saw the movie and then I read the book afterwards. But when I saw this movie, I feel like it was one of the first, like, I don't want to say like it was probably one of the first horror movies that I had seen. And there is I guess, small spoiler warning if you haven't seen any Hannibal or like don't know anything about Hannibal. There's a scene in this movie, and it's, the wheelchair scene. And if you know, you know. But holy shit, when I first saw that, I was like, if I wasn't already into like horror movies when I watched this, because this is kind of like a psychological thriller, right? It's not like a straight up horror movie, but it does have elements in it. And I would have been totally in at that point if I already wasn't, because it's just like visually the movie is really cool. It is kind of long, but like, anyways,
It's a Michael
it's
Mann
amazing.
movie. Every Michael Mann movie is extremely long.
Yeah, but you know what?
Worth it,
like
though.
rewatched it a couple, like whenever they added it, and this is probably like my third or fourth time watching it, and I just like, there's not like a part to me that I watch it and feel like, oh yeah, they could have cut this out or they could have cut this out. But I don't know, maybe it's just because like I have nostalgia for it. But anyways, that's my shout out. Or like any of the Hannibal books specifically, or the Hannibal TV show is just like some of the best content out there. I honestly, Silence of the Lambs is like one of my favorite movies, but like I could give or take Anthony Hopkins as the role. Like, he doesn't make the content for me, even though I feel like for a lot of people it does. Anyways, go watch Manhunter.
Yeah, I agree. Kit, what do you want to shout out?
The new Mountain Goats record. It is delightful and also very sad.
That checks out.
But yeah, very good.
I'm gonna say watch the movie Adaptation. I watched it for the first time last night, and it's one of the best movies I think I've ever seen. Spike Jonze directed it. From Charlie Kaufman wrote it, and it's like this. I don't even know how to explain the plot to it, but it's Nick Cage playing brothers and has Meryl Streep in it and Tilda Swinton, and it's really good. Nick Cage is pretty fucking incredible in it. It's like one of those movies that, like, anytime someone's like, Nick Cage can't act, I'm like, you should watch this, or fucking Leaving Las Vegas, or Moonstruck,
or Snake Eyes.
Yeah, Snake Eyes rules too. That movie's good.
Yeah.
No, that's it's very, because Charlie Kaufman is who wrote Being John Malkovich, I think.
Yeah.
So like it's got like the movie has that kind of feel to it, where it's like very kind of idiosyncratic and weird, but it rules. It's real good. All right, next week we don't have a plan yet because waiting to hear back from somebody. So surprise, we'll see what next week is.
Today. Oh wait. What is today?
The 5th.
Okay.
All right. If you want to support us on Patreon, you go to patreon.com/IHopeYouSufferPodcast.
Mm-hmm.
Or just I Hope You Suffer. I don't know. Find us on Patreon.
Who knows?
Buy shirts at our Teespring and Store Frontier shops. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Tell us how much money it could take for you to drink a chocolate onion milkshake. And if you would put mayo on top of it instead of whipped cream.
Ew.
Follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. Follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face. Listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club. Alright, we gotta go record another episode. So I hope you suffer, but it's all about comb.
Perfect.